Hey guys, it's Matt here. It's the Broken Supercoach checking in. Monday morning. That was round 15 done. We've got some interesting things to go through. Obviously, probably may not be any trades really, so it's going to be pretty low key stuff. But we'll address Tom Stewart. We'll address how the team went this week, and I suppose we'll keep an eye out. We'll go through any rookies that you might want to grab. There's still probably only one. If you're still trying to get full premium, who are you going to get in? So I've had a huge week this week. 41 for the round. Massive. So 26.69. When you go in, you'll see what I did. I probably leaked points through. Well, the guy who got number one had Marshall, which I don't have. I had Cameron, and then he had Rich, which is instead of Sinclair. So that's where I leaked points. I honestly thought anyone who had Walsh probably got points on top of me there, and anyone who captained Laird probably got points. So 41 is really impressive, and that's put me up 4,000 off. Yeah, that's put me up 4,000 rankings, and I'm into 5,200 now, which is a lot more happy. So if I can salvage, my salvage was for top 10k, but if I could salvage into the top 5, that'll be really good. So we're starting to put up some pretty intimidating numbers now, which is really nice. We've obviously got the issue of Tom Stewart, who I don't think, unless he gets 5 to 6 weeks, I don't think I can trade him. So we'll talk about him. We'll undo these for a tick, and I'll just show you how the team went. So Sicily was low, but everyone has him. Not too worried about that. Tom Stewart, obviously massive, but he'll be out now for a month at least, you'd think. We ran Dawson, Sinclair, Short. Not much I can do about Short, sadly. The only thing I can do is really think about starting Dacos over him, which, because he's an 80 player now. But I can't do anything about it. I just have to cop this because I don't have the trades to trade him out. But if I was a Short owner, I would be trading him. If you have more than 5 to 6 trades, if you're sitting on 7 trades, you're full primo and you've got Short sitting there, I would be trading him to someone else. I don't know who. Maybe in round 18 trade him, but he's not for me. I've got to have him, but I wouldn't recommend him to any of you guys. The other guy is great. Tom Stewart, great. If I can hold him. So he very clearly is going to go out for a very long time. Minimum 3 weeks, you'd expect. 4 is probably fair based on what he did. If you take a look at how long we've got to play, we've got 8 rounds to go, and I've got Dacos as cover. So unless Dacos gets injured or isn't fit, I can expect 80 to 90, and Tom Stewart's not dropping 160 every week, so we can expect he's probably a 110. Well, he's 115 average, but he's a 110 player. So we're not bleeding. We are bleeding pretty large points, but I don't think there's anyone you can bring in who is that more valuable over Dacos. If you bring in Doherty, I expect Doherty to go at 100, and I think Dacos could seriously go 90. So we're only going to lose 30 points if it's 3 rounds, 40 points if it's 4 rounds. It's 50 if it's 5 rounds, which that becomes too much for me. And then I'll trade Tom Stewart. Because there's no point, if Tom Stewart is out for these 5 and then he's back in round 21, he only plays 3 games for us. So we only get 300 more points out of him, or 360 more points out of him, perhaps. 330, let's say. So that's probably not worth keeping over, say, a Doherty. So we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow night. We'll see what he gets. If it's 5 to 6, then I probably have to trade, and that puts me down to 2, which is really scary. But I think you have to at 5 to 6, just because there's no point holding a guy who's going to play for 3 rounds. Though he does play West Coast. But he only scored 95 against West Coast. So, yeah, and he's played Gold Coast this year, has he? No, they haven't played Gold Coast yet. And he plays St Kilda. So, against St Kilda, he scored 113. So, not that impressive. Dogs got injured. So, I don't think we can. If it's 4, we're holding. If it's 5 to 6, obviously trading. So that's my thoughts on Tom Stewart. So we'll just throw Dacos here for the time being. He's our cover, with Ware still covering injuries, which is really nice. The issue there is what happens if I get a season-ending injury on a defender. Then you obviously trade that one. If I get a 1 weeker, then Ware covers, and it's going to be an unlucky week. So I vice-captained Oliver. It was Oliver O'Neill for me. I actually, for whatever reason, even though I tipped Brisbane, I just thought I thought Melbourne were going to win. So with scaling, because I thought they'd score the same score and then scaling would take the winner over the top. I vice-captained Oliver thinking that, but then forgot that I had actually tipped Brisbane. So I was lucky there, but also unlucky, but not hugely. Like, I had obviously said in the video to captain Laird, and that he was the best captain of the week. So it's not like I would have missed anything. I missed, another 30-odd points or something. So decent, but not the end of the world by not captaining Laird. And if you missed Oliver, no big deal. Laird's so reliable, so great. Mids are looking good. Steele turned out to be a really nice payoff. He was a cheaper than Walsh option. Walsh obviously scored really nicely. But for me, the price to get Libba, as we see down here, I brought Steele in. So did the Steele trade, got rid of English, and got Libba in the forward line. So, and I'm really happy with Steele. That's his first game back. So I'm hoping that if Steele can go 115 for the season, 120, this is a really decent pod. I think he's only owned by 6% of teams. I don't think you can do it here. I think you have to search it here. You have to click... No, all right. You have to go into players to see percentage owned. So we'll look at that as well. Because he's... Oh, here it is. 6%. You can see it here. So that's a really, really nice pod. And of active players, it's probably even lower than that. So, but let's just say 6%. That's really good. But we are playing him against Walsh. So it's not exactly the best pod when we've got someone like Miller. Miller's another guy that I would be... If I had the trades, if I'm in that 7 to 8 area of trades, I'd be trading Miller as well. If you're full primo, I'd be getting Steele in. I'd turn him into Walsh. If this could be Walsh and Steele, that would be perfect for me. Petrarca's another one. Petrarca did have a really nice finish to last year, so I'm not hugely fussed about Petrarca at the moment. If you look at last year, he came in the bye, got 100, which is exactly what he's done this year, 97. Hang on, guys. Yeah, so Petrarca, he had a big last year. So he's on track. He had 94 in round 15. Hopefully he does the same sort of stuff this year and starts popping off with some very big scores to end the year. But the issue is that he didn't slow down leading into the bye last year. So this could be, this could just be fool's gold. Obviously have to hold him again. I have no choice in that matter. He plays Adelaide, who he played really well last year against. I'd be concerned. As a Petrarca owner, if you had the trades again, the order would be to address Short, maybe Petrarca, but Miller would be the big one because you don't want to lose money on Miller anymore. He probably caps out at 600. Cripps is another one. Don't really trust this at all. It's a bit concerning. So, I've got some holes that I'm not really happy with, but who would you go for? I think Miller to Walsh would be what I'd do there. I'd probably get rid of Short and try to get Doherty or someone like that. Anyway, I've probably spoken too long about those guys. I'm not really happy with these three, but I've got to stick with them and just hope. So we've got... He obviously looped Oliver, so Teakle played on. Darcy Cameron, 117. We're loving this out of Darcy Cameron. How far off is Grundy? He couldn't be far. Do they show do you have to look at it here? Expected in round 19. So we've got a couple more weeks of Grundy. Back off a PCL. They'll be pushing for finals though, so they'll want him in. Basically, what will happen is round 19 will happen, and we'll see what Darcy Cameron does. So we're going to have one awkward week where Darcy Cameron's probably a 600k player, or 550, 560k player. He'll have a high break even, and we need to see him with Grundy. And if he drops, what he originally was dropping with Grundy in the team, which is a 70 to 50, then it'll be time to see him off immediately. But if he drops, an 80 to a 90, then I think the trade has to. You probably have to just put up with it. So we'll send him back. Thanks, buddy. Bryn Teakle, obviously everyone has him on the bench. Whatever. That's sad. We got some good money out of Rioli. So the forward line, again, I think Parker took a pretty big hit. Hopefully he doesn't miss. And if he does, then hopefully Rioli gets a big score against West Coast. But hopefully Parker's all right. I didn't see the game, but I saw he took a pretty big hit. So hopefully he's all right. Tom Libba came in. Love it. Cornelio, love it. I honestly believe these are the best 6 forwards in the league. And I have them all. So English could probably slip in there somewhere. But I think English, for me, I shouldn't have held him through all those 8 rounds in hindsight. There's a chance he still misses. Like we said, his days are up, so he is eligible to play on Thursday, but whether he's better or not is another story. And whether he's trained with the group at all is another story. So really concerning. If you had English, hopefully he plays for you. But I think these are the best, most reliable 6 mids. Parker for English, maybe. But we're loving this. And Libba, another potential really nice pod, perhaps. 4% of teams. So we're loving Steele and Libba going absolutely wild for us because they are seriously nice pods. Darcy Cameron, another very good pod at 7.8. So as long as these 3 score for me, we look really nice on the overall. And we're chasing. So it's Libba versus English, basically. It's Cameron versus, say, Shrek, I think, would be the ruck that most people have. The rucks have started to go crazy. And it's Steele versus Walsh. So that's how the teams look. So who would you bring in? Would you bring in... Oh, I probably should talk about Jackson. He looks really nice. If you're bringing in Luke Jackson, you will have to trade him back out. He'll be the same as Cameron, which is why I didn't bring in Luke Jackson. It's why I went for Libba, because he is a must trade. Because he can't score with Gawn in the team, and Gawn is back soon. Gawn could be as back early as next week, the week after. So if you're bringing in Jackson, you are trading Jackson again. Hopefully he makes you a bit of money. We'll see. Aaron Hall, a lot of people want Aaron Hall. I can see that happening. He probably is a reasonable option for Stewart to Hall. If you've got Short to Hall, I think that's a fair trade as well. I don't like Hall's durability. Again, I don't have the trades for it. So if Stewart is 5 weeks, which I think would be, when you say it like that, I think that'd be huge. But I got to make this clear. He deliberately lined up. It's an intentional high and high. It's brutal hit. So if we have to trade Stewart and go down to 2 trades, I think the obvious one is you just have to go Doherty. Even though he just scored a 91, I just think you have to take the most reliable there. Do you go Houston because he's a mid defender? I hate running risks like this. 15% of teams, so he's quite highly owned, as opposed to Doherty, who is in 28% of teams. And Hall is a pod in 1.7% of teams. I don't like this Hall pick. I just don't have... This sounds crazy, but I don't trust Hall to put together 8 football games in a row. Hasn't done it this year. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He did do it. He did do it last year, but not really impressively. No, he didn't. So there. there. He played all the way. So he played the whole after the bye. Yeah, okay. So he did a run last year, which we all had him in the forward line. He was an absolute ripper, in fact. We all had him. You know what? I probably wouldn't be opposed to Hall if it was Stewart. But I think you've just got to go Doherty. I obviously don't have the money for Doherty if it's Tom Stewart. So if Stewart is 5 weeks, then I'd probably go Houston or Hall. And I'd have to have a real strong think about which one I like. Oh, geez, I hate to say it, but I'll probably go Hall. After saying no all video, I think I'd probably go Hall. Because I don't like Houston, and obviously I didn't realize I didn't have the money for Doherty. So wouldn't go back to Crisp. Wouldn't go to Sard. Short horrendous. Wouldn't go to Rich either. No. Definitely wouldn't go to Rich. And would you go to Brayshaw? No, I wouldn't go to Brayshaw either. So if you can afford Doherty, he's the safest one. So if you can go Tom Stewart to Doherty, absolutely do that. I think he's the most reliable player, Doherty, of the lot, and he's highly owned. So you're not exactly missing, you're not taking any risks by doing that. You're taking a pretty reasonable pod in Tom Stewart, or you're taking a 27% owned player to a 28% owned player. So it's not like you're missing out here. Houston, I think, is really good because it's 15%. The issue with Hall is, yes, he's a 1.7, he's a 1% owned player. Probably goes up to about 6 or 8% owned player, which is a really nice pod. Problem with that is if he gets injured, that is all my trades done because I'd have to commit to Cameron for the season. So, really scary prospect. Probably the risk I take though. That's if Stewart's 4, I just hold him for Dacos. Yeah, so that's the team. If you still for some reason need a rookie this year, then obviously D'Ambrosio is the one. I really liked him. I just didn't need him. Find a way to fit him in your defense. You're probably trading McCartan or Dacos. Find a way. It sounds silly to not trade Dacos. You know, he's made 250k. I just didn't need it. At the end of the day, I just didn't need him, which is really crazy to think about, that we didn't need Dacos. Yeah, and I'd love to get Walsh at 579. What a price. It's the cheapest you'll get him. The 75's gone from his system now, so he'll have a really low break even. Yeah, 90 odd. It's 10% of teams. Probably up to about 15. But I prefer Steel. If I was choosing between the two, Steel is in a different level. So anyway, we've gone on about that for probably too long. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really address. Throw in the comments if you think there's anything you want me to talk about. We'll do a team list. Might do a video rather than do a teams list because there's probably not much to talk about. We might do one after the review. If Stewart is 5 weeks, we'll do a quick video on what I'm going to do with Stewart. Lastly, captains. I think it's pretty easy vice onto McRae there. Into... Jeez, that would have been one. Into potentially Oliver against the Crows. Who, you know, he's had a 200 against the Crows last year in the same fixture. Yeah, that's probably the one. So I think McRae into Oliver, with Owens back. We've got Teakle as the loophole all season, basically. So we use Teakle as our loop. So, yeah, McRae would take a score like this. For the record, if I advised McRae this week, if I'd done what I said, McRae into lead, I would have taken 123 as well. So I got lucky with Oliver because I would never have captained Laird if I advised captain McRae. So the only way I was probably going to do Laird was if I advised Neil into Laird. So that's how that would have looked. Anyway, thanks guys. Cheers. We'll chat to you again during the week.